Hi, I'm Brandi, Lytle, founder of Not So Mommy and creator of the olive green Childless Not by Choice Awareness ribbon. In partnership with Tutum Global, we are owning our voice this National Infertility Awareness Week 2021. In this special Tutum Talks series, we will speak with experts who unpack topics that are important to people who are involuntarily childless. Today, we're talking with BonnieRuth Rolf of Barren, Not Broken. I connected with BonnieRuth on Instagram, and I have her Barren Not Broken podcast listed on the Not So Mommy resources. And then I also recently read your article in the premiere issue of Tutum Journal, where you gave some great insight and tips about how not to lose your faith during an infertility or childless journey. So I'm very excited to speak with BonnieRuth today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Brandi. I'm so honored to be here today. And I love that we're using our voice. That is so empowering, and I hope that it empowers other women as they're listening.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, will you tell us just a little bit about your childless journey?
Yeah, so my husband and I have been married almost 20 years, and we have had about a 19-year journey of infertility. I had some chronic health issues, endometriosis, PCOS. I dealt with fibroids, and that left us with lots of treatments. We had several surgeries. I underwent so many doctor's appointments and just testing and trying things. And we really came to a place last year in 2020 of all years to make this decision. But we made the decision for me to have a hysterectomy. And I say we because I think that this journey is incredibly intense for our spouse as well. And so, yes, it's my body and it's my decision ultimately. But we walked that journey together, and I had a hysterectomy last May in 2020. And so we just kind of came to that place where this is the path that we're on, and this is what we're left with some choices. And so for Jason, my husband, and I, we just felt like we are going to step into a decision, and not one we thought we'd be faced with, but one that we definitely felt was right for us. And that was to move forward in a new journey of being childless. And so for us, it's just been an up and down hill of choosing what's quality of life and then what's our dreams, trying to embrace dreams and letting go of dreams all at the same time. And so for us, we are just in a new season, and it's one that I can't say was easy to get here, but definitely one that we're learning to embrace.
Thank you for sharing part of your journey with us.
Yeah.
Well, BonnieRuth, like you and your husband, Jason, my husband, Dane, and I have been married for 20 years. And we too battled infertility and ended that battle childless, not by choice.
Yeah.
So, this journey has a profound effect on marriage.
Yeah.
Would you please give us your insight about the effects of a childless marriage?
Yeah. And, I think the way I would start that is just we are all living our own stories. And so I just want to say up front, no matter where the listener is at, no matter what your story is, no matter how many years, how many months you're in this journey, know that you are walking your own story, and it's okay to walk it the way that you need to. And we started this episode by saying that we're using our voice. And I just want to use my voice to say, be where you are and know that it's okay. I think one thing that I'm going to kind of start where we are now and work my way back. And that is right now we are choosing to embrace where we are, but understanding that as we are starting to live what I call a new adventure, because when you start out and you're married, you're like, okay, this is an adventure. We're going to have a family. We're going to do this. And then as time has gone on, as I shared, there was just disappointment after disappointment, trauma after trauma, moment after moment of having to decide what's next for us in our story of infertility and now childless, not by choice. So where we are right now is we're choosing to start a new adventure. But in that, I just want to say that there are some days where I still question where we are. And I think that's okay. So you may be fully confident in the choice as a couple, as individuals, of where you are right now. And that's amazing. And I think that when we have moments of questioning or moments of sadness and grief that have kind of creeped back up, I just want you to know it doesn't mean that you're not confident. It doesn't mean that you're not right where you need to be. And so the things that I'm sharing today, I hope that you know it's coming from that place of every day, every month, every moment, every scenario can trigger things in our stories, and they're all different for each of us. But as those things get triggered, that does not mean that you aren't right where you need to be. It doesn't mean that you haven't made the right choices. And so for Jason and I, like I said, we've been married for almost 20 years. And I think the thing that we have embraced the most through our story is we are Team Rolf. So insert team, whatever your name is, you are a team and you are walking this together. And there is nothing more powerful than watching a sports, like a game, a basketball game, a football game. And I'm using this analogy, but I'm totally not a sports person. But there is something very energetic and very inspiring when you watch a team work together and they win. And they are excited and there's just this energy about it. But there's also a synergy and an energy around a team that has worked so hard and they're so unified, but they lost. And I think sometimes we can be seen as a couple who has lost. And I'm just telling you, we have not lost. We are still empowered to live the life that we want to, the life that's in front of us, to have a legacy, to have hope, to have dreams, to have excitement. And there's also pain and there's loss in that journey. So even though a team may lose, if they've been united, there is something like so worth rooting for. And so today, I just want to encourage you that I'm rooting for you as team, as your team, and we're Team Rolf. And so that's the first thing that early on we really embraced in our journey, coming to this decision. And so I think it's been the number one thing that has brought us to a decision of childless, not by choice. Our circumstances have affected what we've had to choose. And I think what's happened is we've come to that place and we're still Jason and BonnieRuth. We're still Team Rolf. And so I just want to encourage you, be a team, no matter what season or phase you're in your story, because it will take you further, faster, stronger, and give you the longevity of having your story and your adventure. I think the other thing I would share is we have had to realize that grief comes, and it comes different for both of us. And in that, we have to give each other space. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes Jason's grief does not look like mine and vice versa. And so just let each other grieve the way that you need to. Be honest with each other and compassionate and tender, and knowing that it's just not going to show up the same, but also the way we heal is not the same. And I think when we give each other space in that and we're honest about it, there's the ability to kind of take one step closer to living a life that is happy and fulfilling in spite of the things that we've walked through. And that doesn't negate it, but it definitely can be in spite of. Because one thing that I believe is, even in our barrenness, we do not have to live broken. And I truly believe that with all my heart. And so I think Jason and I, we've just strived really hard, and sometimes it felt literally like striving to not live broken in our marriage, not live broken within ourselves. Counseling is like our best friend. And so just practical things, like don't minimize the practical, but then also don't minimize like the things like dancing with each other in the kitchen. Maybe don't despise sitting out by a pool or taking a walk to the park, laughing and joking when you're watching a show that's pretty funny. We do that often. And so just don't forget the practical and the simple things that remind you that you're alive. Because when we feel like life has been ripped from us and our dreams have been ripped from us, it can tend to shape us in our perspective to live lifeless. And I just want to encourage everyone today, your marriage can be full of life, and it's the simple things that make it full of life. So I hope that's encouraged you today. I hope that you're okay where you are in this phase, and that in your marriage, you'll embrace each other as a team. And don't despise the small things. Embrace them and let them take you into the adventures ahead.
Thank you for those empowering words. I really liked that you said it was a new adventure.
Yeah.
I think words have power. And
Yeah.
so calling it something positive
Yeah.
can definitely help you as you begin down this new journey.
Yeah, that's good.
And that we can leave a legacy as well. Kids aren't required to leave a legacy.
That's right. That's right.
One thing that really did stand out to me was you talked about how grieving for you and your husband looks differently, as well as the healing.
Yeah.
And I don't, because men, at least I may be generalizing, but my husband doesn't express his feelings as maybe openly as I do. If I'm sad, I cry.
Yeah.
But, he doesn't always do that. And
Yeah.
I do remember him telling me one day, you're not the only one who couldn't have a baby. And that
Yeah.
was a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could just give some specific examples of, how he grieves versus you grieve, and also so that we can not just stay stuck in the sadness, but in the healing as well. How does that look differently for both of you?
Yeah, Brandi, that's a great question, because I think sometimes it helps to know literal examples of what people are going through. I'm like you, I'll cry. I can tend to get irritated. And so sometimes things will be triggering me and I'm just irritated. But for Jason, he gets really quiet. Or sometimes for my husband, it has been, I realize that he starts feeling flooded and overwhelmed. And there's this sense of like, also he gets irritated, but it just displays itself differently. And so one tool that has been really practical but super helpful for us, because I think sometimes we assume a lot on our spouse. Like we assume that we know them when we've been married for 20 years, like you and I, Brandi. And it's like, we think we know what they're probably thinking or feeling. And one thing that we realize is we don't actually. We know each other well, but we do not know how to interpret each other's thoughts, feelings, or emotions. So I would say this would be an answer to both of your questions. We learned really probably about 5 years ago that we are really lazy in our feeling words and understanding of ourselves. And so what we do is we have like a chart that's a feeling chart, and it just has a list of all kinds of feelings. And because for men, it is hard. It's hard to just come out and say like what they're feeling. But Jason was like, I'm tired of living like you don't know where I'm at and I can't tell you. So we just decided, like, we have a friend and she just taught us this tool and it's been powerful. So we take it, and if one of us feels like the other person might be being triggered or needing some space for healing, I'll be like, hey, I'm kind of sensing that you're irritated and annoyed, or maybe, hey, you seem like you're super stressed right now. Are you dealing with anything maybe? And could you take some space to find out? Because I think there is something. And doesn't always get the best response. You're like, oh, really? Like, why are you saying that? But we've learned to just embrace it. And so we just give each other the space that's needed, whether that's a day or 2 days. I would encourage not longer than 2 days, but the space needed. And then we just say, hey, can you pick 3 feeling words? We're up to 5 now. We've stretched ourselves a little bit. So we take that and we just, we're like, okay, these are what I'm feeling. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling disillusioned, and I'm feeling isolated. Or maybe for Jason, it's I'm feeling a failure, I'm feeling out of control, and I'm feeling misunderstood. So it can be a gamut of things that you might be feeling, but it makes you become self-aware, and then it also empowers you to communicate to the other person when it's just really hard to do so. So that's been something that's helped us both heal a lot, and also be compassionate, because if I think Jason's just stressed, annoyed, and sad, that's very different than isolated, feeling like a failure and feeling disappointed. And so I can't assume, and it really allows us to come alongside each other in a way that's empowering versus judgmental.
I love that. That is
It took some practice.
Yes.
I'm not going to act like it didn't. It took some fumbling and a few little arguments here and there, but we've come to a place where we understand the power of it now. So it's worth trying. I promise it's worth trying.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I often see my husband, I just think he's angry. And it is a totally different emotion once he talks about it.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is different than what he's really feeling. But to be able to put words to it would be amazing. So I have to give this a try.
Yeah, exactly. And Brandi, with you saying that, it just triggered something in my mind of like, I think sometimes when we do that, then we take it so personal and it causes more damage in ourselves and our self-confidence and our connection with our spouse. And then that affects our intimacy. That affects this adventure that we're supposed to be stepping into with each other. And I think if we misinterpret our grief and our emotions and feelings, then what happens is we take that into other places and it creates fear, it creates division. And like you said, it's not the actual thing that's happening. And we miss opportunities to go to an intimate level that really is powerful. And we think that we can only have that. And I'm going to step out and be bold and say this. We are prepared to do that when we're going to maybe have kids, right? But we don't give ourselves the space and the empowerment to do that as a spouse. And honestly, it's more powerful to do it as a spouse than if you were a parent. And so I think we have to sometimes shift our thinking, even in how we are in relationship with our spouse, out of the things that we were prepared to do as a mom or a dad. But we're spouses. It's Team Rolf. It's us. We are the family. And there's so much to grow and learn together in. And I think if we're willing to do the hard work, there's an incredible, strong unit that can change people's lives, can change our communities, can change our family dynamics, and to bust all these, taboo topics that people just make a lot of assumptions. But we can't do that if we're not doing it with each other.
You are absolutely right. And I just thank you so much for sharing your insights and your expertise about this subject.
Thank you so much. I'm honored. I really am. I hope that people are encouraged to live their own story where they are right now, but inspired to go forward.
Absolutely. Well, I mentioned your podcast when I introduced you. Would you tell us more about Barren Not Broken?
Yeah, so Barren Not Broken just came out of a desire to bring purpose from my pain. And I had no idea what it would do. I had no idea what I was doing. But really, it's mostly me being able to hear and interview other people's stories. Because I think there's power and every story matters. And if we can learn from each other and if we can feel as though we're not alone in our own story, there's healing that comes in that. And so Barren Not Broken really is just about hearing other people's stories. My husband Jason and I share on it often. But really it just came from that place, and to remind people that even aside from this topic, there's barren places in our lives and we don't have to live broken. And I just really wanted to declare that to people. I wanted them to hear that message so badly, that we don't have to live broken lives because specific things in our lives didn't happen, or there's an empty place that now needs new fulfillment. And I just wanted them to realize that fulfillment can come. And so really that's what it is. And I have so much fun. It's very conversational. It's very casual. I love Jesus, but I cuss a little bit, and it's just real. And it's about faith. It's about stories. It's about where each individual person that comes on is at. And so I have a lot of fun, and I hope the listeners have fun as well in laughing, crying, and just taking a journey of realizing that we don't have to live broken.
That's amazing. Will you tell us where we can find your podcast and how we can connect with you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Barren Not Broken. But also you can go to my website, barrennotbroken.com. But I would say you can find Barren Not Broken podcast on Google Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Pandora, all the things. but you can also listen to it straight from the website as well. So there's many avenues to listen, and I hope if you do listen, leave us your story. Let us know your story. Let us know what impacted you the most. Let us know what you want to hear. I think it's, like you said, we're using our voices, and if we'll collaborate and we'll learn from each other, man, we can change the world, and we can bust the stereotypes and the taboo topics that sometimes lock us up. And I just hope that Barren Not Broken will be part of just, making the voices heard.
Absolutely. I feel empowered just listening to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you so much for talking with us today, and thank you for watching. If you would like to listen to more Tutum Talks, please make sure you subscribe to the Childless Women Network YouTube channel.